Preparation works, people. Don't sleep on it. Ever. Not in cards or in life. Effort and preparation are the barometers of success, even if it's just something like a card show. Let me tell you what works, what didn't work, and what the jury's still out on after my first setup at a 175 table card show. Scouting a show in advance was a great call. Like I said, there was between 175 and 200 tables at this show, and the show happens every couple of months. I made a point to go to this show at least 3 times. I brought a notebook, I brought a pen, and I wrote down what I saw, what prices dealers were asking. Did they mark their prices? Did you have to ask? How busy were the tables? What were the people buying? Were the value boxes key? Were the showcases selling $5,000 cards or $50 cards? All of this was important. What the scouting showed me was not to bring super high dollar cards. Were there some folks that come to the show with 25 grand in their pocket? Sure. Was that common? No, it wasn't. This is more of a mid-tier market, so I loaded my case with cards from $50 to $500, and boy did they move. Everybody wanted everything. It was great. I had 3 or 4 cards in there that were high dollar-ish cards, $2,000 to $5,000, but those were intended to make someone stop and look and then purchase something around it. Think of that as more of a marketing ploy than to actually expect to sell them. At the end of the day, knowing what your audience is going to be at a show like this is key. Organization was another great call. And when I say organized, I don't just mean putting your cards in a box. Many folks come, throw their showcases and boxes down on top of the rickety brown tables that you usually get at a show. Take that a step further. Bring your own tablecloth. Make sure you bring Windex, clean your showcases, etc., etc., etc. Having a clean setup and well-defined space, I found, made a lot of people stop just because they thought, this guy must know what's going on. It is beyond worth it, and it sticks out. In fact, I had numerous people mention it to me when they stopped at the table. They pointed out that my setup is something that made them want to stop. Take the time and put your best foot forward. I had a brilliant idea for a product called player bags. Man, I shouldn't have done that. The premise was 5 to 7 cards of stars and rookies grouped together in a lot for $7. Are there going to be silver prisms and things like that in there? No, of course not. But you're talking your Chronicles, your lower tier, your base prisms, things like that. I had a pack of Trevor Lawrence's, Mac Jones, Shohei Ohtani, Juan Soto, and the like. I spent hours building 50 of these player bags. I figured they would move like hotcakes. I didn't see anybody else doing it, and I thought, man, they're missing a point here. Well, I sold 4. It was a bad idea. I would say this is probably one of the biggest missteps I have going forward. I'm going to bring them to the show again. I don't plan on selling them this time. I think I'm just going to give them away to kids. Moral of this story, not all ideas pan out. Value boxes were another great call. My value boxes weren't 5-cent, 10-cent, and 25-cent cards. I took a different approach. My boxes were full of $1, $2, $3, $5, and $10 cards. I brought 3 boxes, 1 football, 1 baseball, and 1 basketball. Almost every card in there was either a rookie, a silver, or some type of colored refractor. It could have been for a low dollar insert. It didn't much matter. The point was to make them look extremely nice. It worked out tremendously. People bought out of them all day long. In fact, one guy just bought the whole football box, which is another thing to remember. When you put your cards in your value box, plan on the unexpected, right? So I knew how many cards of each amount I had in there. So when some guy asked me what I wanted for the box, it was very quick and very easy to give him a number. It's important to have that information. You never know what might happen. Mystery packs. I'm not going to say it was a good idea or a bad one. We're going to call the jury still out on this one. I charged $30 a pack. Inside was a PSA 9 or 10 Mosaic or Prism basketball rookie. Also in that pack were 5 cards or 7 cards of rookies. Could have been Cade, Jalen Green, Tyrese Maxey, LaMelo, Anthony Edwards, and the like. Some lower tier areas, I even threw in random autographs. The chase cards in the product were LaMelo, Trae Young, Zion, and Ja. Now, at $30 a pack, you're not going to get a $7,000 card. But there were cards valued at $100, give or take. Every pack that I made could have returned value. If you parsed everything out, even if you got the worst card, all the stuff in there was still worth $30 or more on the open market. I made 35 of them. I think I sold about half. I'm going to bring the other half back to the show with me and see if we can unload it. Overall, I know folks had a ton of fun that opened the packs in front of me, but I'm going to give the jury still out on this one. We'll see what happens at the next show. I only took cash. I'm not going to say this is a good idea or a bad one. The jury's still out on this one too. I decided, leading to the show, I was only going to take cash. No Cash App, no Venmo or PayPal. It didn't cost me any deals at the show, but I will monitor it going forward because I don't want to miss out on a sale because I can't take Cash App or Venmo. But for now, taking cash was okay, but the jury's still out. Pricing my cards, in my opinion, was a good call. There is an ongoing debate that will probably never end from dealers between pricing and not pricing your cards. Some will say they don't price their cards because the market shifts so rapidly, and others will tell you not pricing forces a conversation at the table. I'm not going to say those points are wrong, but what I will tell you is my opinion different. I look at it a different way. Having prices on cards allows someone who's shy and may not want to have a conversation or is nervous about having a conversation the opportunity to see what you're asking. It also allows someone, while you're busy with someone else, to see what you're asking and see if it's a price they want to stick around for. Look, when I price, I'm not pricing ridiculously. I actually price a little below comps. It made everything move. It made everyone happy. It made everyone feel good. They didn't feel like I was trying to rip them off. They could see it right away. It was right in front of their eyes. In the last 48 hours before the show, I priced every card I planned on putting in my showcase and did the math then. Sure. Does it fluctuate within 2 days? Absolutely. Did I feel like I was going to take a big hit at that point? 100% I did not. And besides, if I was off by a little bit, that just made someone else happy, and I still got the price I wanted. Set realistic expectations. It's always a good call. You can't set up at a show and expect to move your entire collection. It's not a reasonable expectation. A reasonable number, I think, would be to go in and try to 3x your table cost. So if it cost you $100 to set up at the show for the day, try to make 3. That's some money for your time. Any more money than that is just gravy. Now, we're not talking about profit here. We're just talking about raw sales. Could you sell out of every card you brought to the show in first time ever? Sure, it's possible, although minutely small mathematically. But go in with level expectations and make sure you have a good time. Please, people, make sure you have change, and I mean plenty. Have bunches of 1s, 5s, 10s, and even a decent amount of 20s if you can do it. You'll be surprised how many people come with a $100 bill and try to buy a $12 card. You've got to be able to make change for customers, otherwise you'll lose them. I made sure I brought a bunch, especially singles, 5s, and 10s, to ensure I was covered. In fact, the dealer to my left and the dealer to my right were making change with me because they didn't bring enough in order to close the deal. I wasn't going to let them hang, so I helped them out. Moral of the story, bring enough change. Don't lose a deal, because knowing your acquisition cost is a good call. This should be a no-brainer, but after talking to dealers at card shows the last 20 or 30 years, turns out it's not. It is beyond important to know what you're into a card for. How can you know if you're going to turn a profit, or if the loss you take is something that's acceptable to you if you don't know what you're into the card for? It is literally business 101. Look, you're not going to profit on everything, and that's okay. Sometimes it makes sense to get out of a bad card that you can't move in order to use that money for something else. In business, this is something called the sunk cost fallacy. I did a parody that better explains this point, and you can click it right here. But again, all of these are just my thoughts.